and that fails to deal with, there's a disconnect between the law and the social reality.
Yeah.
So if we are going to go into marijuana farming commercially, we then need to look at marijuana in terms of its medicinal contribution, but also as a drug, and ask ourselves, how well are we managing our drugs at present? How well are we managing alcohol? How well are we managing tobacco? What are the health impacts of these drugs? Because they are drugs much as they are legalized, and marijuana has different connotations because of the historical context. But the broader question is, what is the social support system? Kenya is quickly developing a drinking problem. Our young people are quickly developing drinking problems. This has been exacerbated by our kind of skewed taxation that we have on alcohol, that makes it cheaper for young people to take hard drinks than it is to drink maybe lower levels of alcohol. So we need to talk about social impacts of the decisions we make, economic decisions we make, so that we have a holistic conversation. So my view is we are looking at one aspect but missing the bigger picture.
Asaska, is it a realistic proposal?
I find the Roots Party's proposal quite controversial and at the same time interesting. Like, if you ask me personally, I will look at it differently a bit. Yes, there's a social problem around drugs in Kenya. I don't doubt that fact. But if you look just around East Africa, if you look at Rwanda and Uganda, they've legalized the medicinal use of cannabis. And they're making money of it. They're exporting it just like tea or coffee. And they have investors who have come in and they're making money out of it, and that way they're having an alternative revenue stream that is helping develop the country. So I'm not opposed to maybe looking at it differently and having tough guidelines surrounding the production of cannabis. I think it's something maybe we can look at, because currently we have 10 countries.
We don't have enough regulations to deal with the drugs we have currently. So if we add another one,
that's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed first. And if you remember the late MP of Kibra, he brought the Cannabis Control Bill of 2018. And he had good proposals in there, because it can be used for medicinal value. And if we restrict it, not for recreational purpose, maybe we'll be able to have very strong guidelines that can ensure that the drug cannot be misused.
Nerima? I'm not coming to you last week.
Now, on that one, I like that you've come to me next, because I feel I hold the same opinion as a Saska. It's about looking at the differences. It's interesting. It really is. We're thinking outside the box, because we have to. We're talking about a population that is majority youth. And not only is it now, it will be for decades to come. And we're talking about a global economy and a global citizen population that will continue to grow. Our health continues to improve, the standards continue to improve. So how are we managing? So things that are going to be key is access to resources, climate change, the environment, and managing pollution as we continue to increase and decrease the number of vehicles or the kind of transport and carbon monoxide going to the environment. So for me, looking at the regulations, if it's for medicinal use, it's very, very helpful for many people who are going through all sorts of long-term illnesses. It is even sometimes prescribed, and it's necessary for them to be able to survive. But then I think what a lot of people are worried about is the misuse of that. And it's the same with all the drugs that we're talking about, like Wanjiru has mentioned.
So Prof, jump in.
I think I'll pick from what you said, and it's economics. If you legalize something, it loses that value it had. And it doesn't become like a gold, the black gold. But I think that what is important, and hearing that it has, and when you're right, it has the value in terms of medicinal. I think what we are balancing here is what do we do for export and what we do also for food security. So we need to balance that. So we can sell, but not at the expense. I think the first step is to ensure every Kenyan has enough food.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. We can still plant flowers. We can plant tea. Tea plays two parts. It plays as an export, but also consume. But it's not food really.
Okay.
I cannot have tea and I say I've had lunch.
Okay.
So we think to be careful in that. The contribution to the economy is questionable, and I hope they have done their maths. I've just looked at it, and we know economy. It's actually saying we are getting so much from it. That's the most important thing. It is medicinal, because it's medicinal. It helps us now to be productive in other sectors.
Yeah, Dr. Baraza, I know you still want to be convinced in terms of how much money it brings to the economy that have legalized it, but legally speaking, if that was to happen and make cannabis legal, what impact will it have on this previous ruling on people who are incarcerated as we speak for having had some marijuana on them? What impact will that create in the judiciary where you've served before?
If they legalize marijuana now, what it will have on the people in the cells?
Yes.
Well, I guess, is the law retroactive?
No.
I think the law doesn't apply retroactively, but I think the issue here is not the legalization. I think good points have been raised around Wajakoya's or that manifesto about marijuana.
Yes.
I think if it is properly managed, and personally I want to be convinced that it is of an economic value.
Yeah.
If it is, then I think a law can be passed, an appropriate law can be passed. We put in place mechanisms to protect the youth from abuse. And then I think that will be okay, but I need to be convinced that there is some useful. It is a useful venture in terms of agriculture.
All right. Let me finish. I'll come to you. Yeah. Go ahead.
As to and then that will take care of the abuse which has caused the fellows in the cells to be in the cells.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Dr. You wanted to jump in?
Yes, I'd like to add on to what Ms. Barasa has mentioned, that yes, definitely there's a social problem. We all agree. And if you look at the 10 countries, I'd like to clarify, the 10 countries in Africa that have legalized cannabis, they've only legalized for medicinal use except South Africa. South Africa has legalized both for medicinal use as well as recreational use. So yes, there's a fear around the social problem that the cannabis will bring about. But I also want us to look outside the box, as Nerima has mentioned, that hey, it's estimated that in Africa alone, cannabis has a market, is worth about $7 billion by 2023. So it's a market that maybe we could try and figure out how best we can get into for the benefit of our development agenda in the country.
Okay. Wanjiru?
Yes, so I was going to just be clear that I'm not advocating that it don't be legalized. I think I'm actually a proponent of, if you look at the social reality, cannabis is being used, it's being used by youth, that's why they're winding up in jail. So first of all, it shouldn't have been criminalized, because people shouldn't be in jail because of smoking cannabis. That is quite regressive, and so that's a situation. But if I think the case that what Jacoya is making is, let us legalize cannabis, and I say yes, let us legalize it for medicinal, also for social, because it's in use, and regulate it in the same manner that we would regulate other substances. But recognize that right now our regulation of other substances is not doing so well. That there is a risk that we go in and legalize and we create a culture that is going to destroy our youth. And it's not just youth who have problems with substances, people our age, because we tend to moralize the use of substances instead of looking at maybe the practical. Maybe we don't deal with our mental health issues so well, maybe our social structures. resources. So this is why I'm saying we need a proper policy framework that looks at the issue holistically, not just from an economic point of view, and definitely not from a moral point of view.
Okay, let's move away from the economy and now talk about the war on corruption. And Dr. Baraza, I'll start with you on this. You've been at the helm of the judiciary. What is really hindering the war on corruption?
The war on corruption is being hindered by corruption.
Corruption itself?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it is. Because we have institutions to fight corruption. We have the law to fight corruption. We have constitutional provisions, although we've watered them down, as Wanjiru says. So what is the problem? And so we hear of cases of corruption, and they are major, and there are many, they are on a daily basis. They come to the courts, and probably you hear about them day one, and then that's the end of it. We just never hear of people getting convicted for corruption. So I don't know what happens, but I want to imagine that there is corruption in the fight against corruption.
People have blamed that on the judiciary for not explaining.
Well, I'm saying I'm not exonerating the judiciary from the corruption issue at all. Because there are things you just can't explain. Or in other institutions, those other institutions to fight corruption.
When you say the things you can't explain, what do you mean?
You arrest people. And by the time you go to arrest a person, you must really have a reason. So what happens beyond the arrest? All right? What happens beyond the being charged in court? I think there is so much which happens in that chain of dealing with corruption. And my argument is that there is corruption, which is fighting to sustain corruption.
What then would be the solution?
Just deal with it head on. There's no two ways about it.
The Roots Party is suggesting bringing back the death penalty.
Deal with it head on. And what am I talking about head on? We know some countries, you mess up and you are in. That's it. And look, this part of terrorism. We, as African culture, we respect leadership a lot. Because that's how we do now. We respect leadership. And I'll give you an example. Magufuli, and God bless his soul. Magufuli convinced Tanzania there was no COVID. Majibdi, Rilani. They believed him. We knew there was. But that trust of leadership. So today that leadership tells us Kenyans, I don't want this nonsense. Wako you show up, you're in. When they set it up, stay there until we sort it out.
But
right now she has an issue. Somebody's even going that we cannot arrest her. Fine. You see the narrative you are going. You are guilty and proved.
You're innocent until proven guilty.
We prove you when you're inside there.
But Dr. Baraza, the reason I'm coming to you this is
the animal you are dealing with
firsthand.
The animal we are dealing with, and let's be a bit serious, and I think we are. The animal we are dealing with, it's what is making our food expensive today. The animal we are dealing with is the one which is making very unsafe to go certain areas.
Let me bring back Baraza before I come to the rest of my panelists. How can it be dealt with, having dealt with this firsthand?
I think the issue of integrity is what is standing in the way on the fight against corruption. It's corruption. It is lack of integrity. And we should deal with it seriously. Look at the people that we have in our institutions. Are they corruptible? From where I sit, I think are corrupt people.
Okay. But Prof, we have enough
who are not able to deal with corruption.
Yeah.
And that is how those cases go in such a zigzag manner that you never get to get the outcome there.
Okay.
If there you
Look at the president. He said last week.
Yeah.
Huyu atafunga nyinyi. We are looking for people tutafungwa.
Okay. All right.
Why should a youngster who is perhaps my grandson is on the road with a 33 million car? What the hell have you got the car from?
Okay.
Surely, even if my father is built, whatever, is that a priority?
Yeah.
And I think she's right. They ate in our bones. And you know, something in your bones, you have to go through the cancer process.
Yeah.
That's, you have to go through that process. At times we cut it off.
Okay. All right.
so here,
yes.
Sorry, let me just interject. We watered down chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Yeah.
We watered it down because right now I don't understand how people who are facing charges of corruption are the ones seeking the leadership position. How are they ever going to fight corruption? Our devolution, the gem of our constitution. What is killing devolution is corruption.
Yeah.
And they are the same fellows who are benefiting from corruption in those counties.
Yeah.
And they are the same ones running for positions of leadership. How are they ever going to fight corruption?
Yeah.
I think their main aim is to come and preserve themselves. It is unfortunate we watered down chapter 6, and so we are going to go in circles on this issue of corruption.
Okay, Wanjiru, I'll come to you to talk about this, but let's cross over now to Busara Naman, who's standing by. This time it's not you, from Busara Naman is standing by with the security situation at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, where this multimedia broadcast is coming to you live. Busara?
Na mtazamaji, moja kwa moja tuangazie swala zima la usalama katika chuo hiki ambapo mdahalo unafanyika, na kwa mengi zaidi tunaungana na mkuu wa kitengo cha usalama. Moja kwa moja ningependa ukaribie na uanze kwa kujitambulisha alafu tuendelee.
Kwa majina naitwa Benjamin Mwanzi, Sub County Police Commander Lang'ata.
Na ningependa utueleze, je, ni mikakati gani ambayo mmeweka kuhakikisha kwamba tuko salama, na je tusiwe na wasiwasi?
Nataka kuhakikisha wa Kenya na watu wote ambao wamefika pande hii na kwamba usalama uko sawa sawa. We have made the necessary arrangements. Tumekuwa hapa since the governor's debate, and since we have been scaling up security. Kwa saizi security kwa sawa sawa, na nahakikisha wananchi ya kwamba wasiwe na wasiwasi yote. Tumeweka usalama ya kutosha.
Naam, basi tayari ameshatueleza kwamba kila kitu kiko shwari, inamaanisha kwamba tusiwe na wasiwasi. Lakini cha mno, je, bado mnaangazia ni akina nani wanaingia? Ni waalikwa tu ama mnaruhusu mtu yoyote?
Si mtu yote anakubaliwa, ni wale wamealikwa. Iko vetting kwa gates, iko vetting iko separate vetting areas kabla hujafika mahali ya debate. So ni wale wamealikwa peke yake, wako na cards, tuna verify kabla waingia. So watu wasikuje isipokuwa wale wamealikwa, na tunaomba wale wamealikwa nao wakuje, na wale watu walitupea wakasema wao ndio wataandamana nao, wasiongeze watu wengine zaidi kwa sababu ya the logistics ambazo tumeweka huko ndani.
Naam. Bila shaka mtazamaji, huyo ni Benjamin Mwanzi, ni OCPD wa Lang'ata, ambaye anatujuza mengi kuhusiana na shughuli nzima ya usalama katika eneo hili, na kama alivyosema kila kitu kiko shwari. Kwa hivyo mtazamaji, kama uko nyumbani endelea kutazama kwenye runinga yako, kama uko na redio sikiliza, kama uko na basi angalia mtandaoni mtazamaji, uweze kujionea yote yanayojiri katika mdahalo wa leo wa wagombea wenza. Kufika hapo narudisha upande mwingine wa studio kwako Trevor.
Asante sana Busara Naman, kila kitu kiko shwari. You've been dealing with this issue of corruption for the longest time now. What are the best options of dealing with it?
Great, yes. We, okay, as an institution, we do with social accountability, which is really strengthening citizen voice for accountability. Corruption proper, you're looking at abuse of office and you know, the penalties and the kind of remedies you have on that. And how do we deal with the problem of corruption? First of all is to recognize that, as Prof has said, as Daktari has said, it's become a part of our culture. In 2015, I think it was, the Aga Khan University published a study on youth perceptions and expectations, and youth said it doesn't matter how you make your money, as long as you make your money, and corruption's not a big deal. So if you're going to talk about you know, prudent use of public resources to youth, it's not going to resonate, because the interest is to make money by any means. We become very consumerist. Our value system is about consumption, and it's about, you know, acquiring money so that I can consume, like what you're saying, enjoy a big car, the soft life. So one, we need to deal with the culture. The other